From author Brian K. Morris comes an epic tale of armor forged by a god, a hero forged by courage, and an ancient menace poised to re-emerge and threaten our world. Volcana, Rebirth of the Champion, is available on Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Seconds.
And welcome to issue number 15 of Comic Book Spectrum.
Welcome to Comic Book Spectrum, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Get ready to explore the world of comics, past, present, and future, with our panelists Eric Hawkins, Brian Rodman, and Clyde Hall. And now here's your host, Brian K. Morris.
Welcome to the June 3rd edition of Comic Book Spectrum. Hope you're having a good evening. Hope your Thursday went well. Hope you got an armful of comics at your local comic shop. We're glad to have you here. And we want to say some thank yous before we get this thing started here. We want to thank, first of all, Plasma Fire Graphics for sponsoring this episode. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. They do comic book covers. They do wraparound book covers. They do promotional graphics, as well as the two really nifty looking trailers that you saw at the start of the show. And they're affordable too. Trust me, I'm cheap. But anyway, please check him out. Jeffrey Hayes is an incredibly talented guy, and you'll love working with him at Plasma Fire Graphics. Check out their Facebook page and plasmafiregraphics.com when the look of your book matters to you. Also want to thank our friends at the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. They are a group, well, I should say we are a group of like-minded individuals who are helping each other grow our broadcasting platforms. And in return for that, we provide you with all kinds of entertainment and information 7 days a week. So please check out what we've got going. Tonight, following this show at 8 p.m., Creative as Hail with Amy and John Hale. I'll get it out. They will be interviewing actor and activist Santiago Cirillo, and possibly the only man on this planet that's louder than I am. So please check out that show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at 9 p.m. is Stupid O'Clock with Joe Dog McKeel and a whole bunch of great people that are going to make your nighttime go really swimmingly. It's a fantastic talk show. You will enjoy it, I promise. And also thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Patreon is a monthly service that for a modest amount of money, you can support your favorite creators directly. And in return, you get looks at my personal blog, works in progress. You can even download some of my books. So check it out and see what we offer, our various levels of support at www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. Also, don't forget my new book is out right now, Snow Shorts Series number 4, Snow Ambition, an Abraham Snow adventure. If you like quick read crime drama, this is the book for you. It's only 99 cents, available now on Amazon. And we're really glad to have you all here tonight. I see the chat room is filling up. And right now we want to say, Brian Rodman, get well fast. Brian was taking his nebulizer Kickstarter thing a little too seriously and started having a major asthma attack. And so he's taking the night off, but we are not lacking for commentary. We have the one, the only Mr. Wheezy Brian R. standing. Thank you very much for being here. Brian Rodman, you've lost your hat. Anyway, no, this is the one, the only Joe D. McPhee. You've seen him in our chats here. He's also from the desk of a small press publisher, has a great interview show every Saturday night on his own YouTube channel. Please go to that channel right now, and we'll understand if you ignore us. Please go to the channel. Please give that a subscribe and a like and everything. And if you like what you see here, please subscribe and like this video, whether you're watching on Facebook or on Amazon, or well, we could get on Amazon. What am I thinking? I'm looking into the future, or on Facebook or on YouTube. So please check it out and give us some love. We're so insecure. So anyway, we will start with the introductions. Gentlemen, thank you for being here this evening. Hope all is well. Cool. Oh, shut up, you guys. You're Let's start with Joe here. And Joe, tell everybody who you are and why you are so amazing.
Well, I am the creator of Amazonia Primetime Saturday Night and AWF, and I also have a YouTube channel called From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, which starting this Saturday will also be broadcasting to Twitch as well. And guess what? Brian Rodman will be on my show next Saturday, so be looking for that here. And I'm just happy to be a part of the show, despite working on a couple other things here. For those who've been following me on social media, I've been working on inking. I do have a custom cover that I need to color in, so I've been kind of practicing my Prismacolor coloring as well. So
nice.
Kind of like one of those things here. So I'm just happy to be on the show because I've been in the wings for so many issues that it's like, hey coach, let me play. I need to move up the varsity. I'm tired of junior varsity. Let me play in the big game.
I'm tired of picking splinters out of my butt. Put me out on the field. Yeah. But we're glad to have you here, Joe. Thank you so much for doing this. I do appreciate you, man. And next in line is Mr. Eric S. Hawkins, or as we like to call him, the Captain Pornsack Eric S. Hawkins. Sir, tell him who you are.
I don't know who I am.
Okay, moving on to Clyde Hall then.
No, it's good to finally meet Joe. I've seen him in the chat before and seen him on other shows, so it's really good to finally meet him. And glad he's on here with us, even though Mr. Brian is sick. So I'm going to post his link in the chat here so they could go back his book to make him feel better. I'm sure that's what will make him feel better. He'll jump out of whatever he's feeling bad right now if you back his book, The Nebulizer. But hey, I am the creator of the Zombie World of Oz. Let's see if I had an issue on the desk. I always have an issue on the desk.
You've got issues, all right.
We successfully crowdfunded our third issue, and it's still available on Indiegogo in demand. It will ship in August. And I'm a co-host on this show. That's about all I do.
You found your purpose in life, Eric. I'm so pleased for that. Good man. And honestly, congratulations on your Kickstarter for the Zombie World of Oz.
Thanks.
Quite an accomplishment. Very well done.
I want more next time. Issue 4, I want 100,000.
Okay, folks, the bar has been set. And speaking of the $100,000 kind of guy, here he is, the gold standard of our group, the only one that has any standards, actually, is Clyde Hall. Mr. Clyde Hall, please tell everybody who you are.
Are you troubled by horror comics in the middle of the night? Do you experience feelings of dread deciding titles to get at your local comic book shop? Have you or any of your family ever seen a cover but then forgot by New Comic Book Day what the title was? If the answer is yes, then don't waste another moment. Hit the subscribe button and follow the professionals, Comic Book Spectrum. Our courteous and efficient staff includes me, Clyde Hall, independent author and comic book reviewer with degrees in comic book psychology and para-comic book psychology, 98.6 and 98.7 degrees respectively. Comic Book Spectrum, we're ready to review for you. Also, I happen to have some stories right now appearing in Stormgate Press's Pulp Reality number 1, Pulp Reality number 2. You can get those on Amazon or by going to www.stormgatepress.com. Also look for things like the Captain Huckland series from Charles F. Milhouse. He is the organizer of our anthology series at Stormgate Press.
Most excellent. Thank you very much, Clyde. And I am Brian K. Morris, independent publisher of books and comics, freelance hybrid author, Facebook famous YouTuber, and an award-winning playwright, former award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant, and allegedly in charge of this, but only when the decision needs to be made. Otherwise, it's total anarchy here, and that's the way I like it. So, folks, again, please, if you're watching us live or on the rerun, please give this video a like or a thumbs up, and please subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, please subscribe. Give a like to the page you're watching it on as a thank you to your host, okay? And we've got a full group of people, and we will not be reading everyone's comments tonight, but we will put them on the screen. But we are going to acknowledge you if we can and enter the gladiators. Thank you, Carl. Glad to have you here. Eric Hawkins has got his evil twin. No, wait a second. The evil twins in here with us. And thank you very much, Ryan Permisson. Glad to have you here and looking forward to being on your show on noon this coming Saturday. And we are dandy. And when is the CBS shirt coming? We've got to work on that. We've got to get our graphics department, which is anyone but me, on the project here. And Brian Hawkins, good to see you, sir. And here I have to say the day. So CKOEPP.com. Please check out our newsletter. Hello, Carly, Carlene. And Cindy will get to your, I'm going to write that down. We'll get to your question after the reviews. Okay, 7:05 Cindy. All right. And of course, we've got the latest in electronics, the top of the line, cutting edge technology to make sure we get back to your question. Yeah, this is what we're waiting for the bookmarks from StreamYard. And Historical Fencing Guild, it's time to light the lights. It's time for the Comic Spectrum, right? Thank you very much, Nick. And check that channel out Friday nights at 8. And hello, Ted Davies Artistry. Hello, Teresa Dunn. And let's see, Nita Lanning says, damn it, I love standing in. We're glad you're here. And Cindy, yeah, we're gonna check that out. Yeah, and definitely we all feel this way. Brian Rodman, please get better soon, please. And and Jody, you've got some thunder that's about to be stolen here by Needle Landing. Here's a lookout. And also, this is the link to the nebulizer. So if you want to put a smile back on Mr. Rodman's face, please help him reach his next stretch goal. He's made his first, I believe. And now he's gearing up for his second one. So let's put some pressure on him and see how strong his immune system really is. Can he survive the Kickstarter? Okay. Ebola, all that stuff. None of that is scary, but the Kickstarter is. So anyway, please check that out. And Pop Culture Avenger, glad to have you here. And Deninja Genko, hello. And Amy Hale, mwah. Hope you're doing well tonight. So anyway, thank you all for being here. And please, later on after the reviews, we'd urge you to join in our discussion. But Cindy Cap has a question. We will come back to it. And for right now, who would like to go first? That's what I thought. Anyway, Brian, we have. Oh, he's faking. He's faking. He's faking. Look at this. He's playing hooky. Brian, hope you feel better, man. Seriously, hope you get to feeling better. Hello, Carly. Carlene, glad to see you here. So, I'll go first then. Fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I lead from the rear, young man. It's like you guys go for it. You see that minefield? Start marching. I'll be along in about 10 minutes. Anyway, I will start this review. Now, today it was asked in our private channel, Brian, which DC book are you going to review? Because you've got a bit of a history of, like being DC's like stooge. And of course, it's like it was a tie. I could have done this. Thank you, Joe D. I'm really grateful. Or this, but here's the DC title I decided to review. It's not a DC title. Ha ha ha. My lips moved to more than one title. Anyway, this is from Vault Comics. Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing about this. I have been hearing about Vault Comics from these guys, and I saw this and I just dug this cover. It's the one thing I love about this is the whole book has a real retro feel to it. Now the story is about a guy who you see him starting out and he's encountering it's also got a soundtrack you can play on your phone. It's so modern, but it has he's flying through space and he sees a mystery. He comes to investigate and he's taken before these aliens, and we find out that they've got something perhaps a little nefarious in mind. And then it goes to his real life. He repairs furnaces for a living, but also he's part of the real life superhero movement.
Hence the blue flame.
The blue
He's
flame,
like a pilot flame. Ah,
yeah. And he hangs out with people called the Feet, the Swiftbird Thea, and the Crimson Visage. And they are going to be doing an opening at a big public event. And then something happens to kind of derail the event. And it ends on, I won't reveal the ending, but it's got me to reading the next issue. Not a whole lot of sound effects. Sorry, Eric. But look at this lettering. I've got to point out this lettering. Look at that. This is an example. We talked about lettering in the past about how, sometimes it only calls attention to itself when it sucks. Mm-hmm. But also in this case, when it is used to full effect as not just a storytelling tool, but a graphics tool, something that draws your eye, something that really made this is actually the thing that sold me on picking the book up and looking at it in the first place. There's some very distinct characters in here. The art is lovely. Christopher Cantwell's the writer. Adam Gorham is the artist. The colorist is Kurt Michael Russell. And I couldn't pronounce the letterer's name if you waterboarded me. I'm sorry. Hassan Otsmain El How, and I apologize to whoever you are, but you did a great job on this. You really did. Fantastic lettering. Lots of great art in here. Kind of reminds me of Paul Smith of the X-Men. These look like real people. And even in costume or out. The ending will get you to pick up the next issue. And it's a solid book. The production values on this are exceptional. And it's only $3.99, the same price as my beloved DC Comics or Marvel or any other mainstream company. But yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for more Vault comics. And definitely, I didn't even leave the building before I told my local comics monger, please put me down for this book. And he couldn't. He couldn't put me down because I'd shown such exceptional taste in comics. So anyway, strong story, incredible art, wonderful coloring, and really terrific lettering. I am going to give this I'd be tempted to give it I'll just go ahead and do it. 9.5. This is virtually perfect. This is as good as it gets. I only took away that half point because I got to wait another month or two for the next damn issue. But other than that, this is a solid read. Go ask your local comic shop to pick you up a copy, if you would. It is still available. It came out just this week. So that's my review of the Blue Flame from Vault Comics.
How many different fonts were in that opening page there?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly, Joe.
Yeah.
My guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My best guess is 8 different fonts in that one. In fact, let me put it on full screen.
Too many.
Well, they say in most design you should only do about 3. But this is just almost playful with how it's put together. Mm-hmm. So I can't give them any fault for this one. I genuinely dug the letter.
I would take 3 points off for that crap.
Okay, that's why I reviewed it and not you. So anyway,
speaking of which, how is this grading scale? We're doing 1 to 10.
Yeah. And we are now Clyde. If he gives something an 8.5, it's virtually perfect. I'm more of a whore. I can be had. If you have a sugar and spike done all in crayon, I'll probably give it like an 11 because I love sugar and spike.
Okay.
I have no critical faculties whatsoever, except what few I have. I do recommend this book,
and I will go into negative numbers.
Yes, he will. In fact, Eric will actually send a book flying across the room if he doesn't like it. So Joe, you can decide if you want to do that or not, if you want to get the FAA clearance. And we have some comments. Brian Rodman says, my lungs may not work, but my fingers work fine. Still wouldn't miss the show for the world. Joe D, be sure to heckle them well for me. Thanks for filling in, my friend.
Not a problem, Brian. Not a problem.
Well, at least now we don't have two Brians on here, and so when somebody says Brian, I know who they're blaming. Yeah. So, and then Davies Arsbury BKM, it looks like Steve Rude's Nexus. Yeah, it really does. There are touches of Steve Rude in it. But again, the characters, a lot of them look very natural. They don't look strictly drawn to like the 8-head perspective that you see in a lot of comic book art. Brian Rodman says, "Ooh, the Blue Flame looks amazing. Not only will I have no air, but I'll have money after this show." So many fonts. That's right. And Eric would have tossed it. And yeah, that's a lot, Cindy. And Jody, Brian gave Memoirs a 10 out of 10. Don't trust him. Oh, that's because he was here. Brian would beat me up. But anyway, that's my review of The Blue Flame from Bolt Comics. And I thought it was an excellent read. Actually, since I picked it up yesterday, I've probably read that about half a dozen times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of books that when I bring them home, I read them once or twice, and then into the bag they go, and then I pull them out later and maybe read them again down the road. But this one just begged to be reread. It was just that good. So
I got it digitally and read it and liked it so much that I ordered because the local shop didn't get it, so I ordered a hard copy to come because I was going to review it within the month. And you started talking about it almost immediately, like, I'm going to review this. I'm like, fine, I'll review as the series goes on, as if it continues to be that good. But I really, I concur. I liked it too.
Yeah. Well, and we discussed this, Clyde and I can tag team on this one. I'll take the odd issues, you take the even ones.
Yeah, so, maybe.
This could work out, and then people will say Brian does read more than DC Comics. Of course, what was it last week? I reviewed a non-DC comic too.
You did Ultraman.
Yeah, and I did Ultraman.
It was Marvel. Yeah. That was surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did. Yeah,
he despises Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't despise them. I just haven't, except for a couple of books, I haven't enjoyed anything they've written in 20 years. That's all. So, who says I don't have standards? No, I dig the Immortal Hulk. I'm liking that. I'm kind of sorry it's coming to a close. And I've been reading Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man regularly when I can. So, but there are some like Thor. I have found Thor to be virtually unreadable the last 3 years. And of course, guess who's and not to be mean on the writer, but the writer of Thor is now moving to the Hulk. So that's going to save up some time on Hoopla this coming month. So anyway, enough about me and my prejudices. Who would like to go next? Eric, Joe, who's up? Clyde usually gets
go. Fine.
Okay. All right. Eric, and then Joe, and then, of course, Clyde. No pressure, Clyde. No pressure at all. Anyway,
float around if you want. That's fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do.
You never know. I might give him some pressure.
Ooh.
Hey?
Fight. I like this. But first, a word or 5 from Eric Hawkins.
We might go 6. So I actually did buy 2 DC books, but I'm not going to review either one of them. There's some over there. Didn't find nothing wrong with them. I just haven't read them yet. I only read one book, and that was from Boom Studios. Basilisk, #1, by Colin Bunn, Jonas Scharf, and Alex Gamera, something. I don't know. But I found the book quite interesting. Though, I'll read the description here off their website for you, which they've said sold out, but they had plenty at my store, so I don't know. Every time I buy a Boom book, I go to their website, look some stuff up, it says it's sold out, but not around me. So, who can stop the Chimera? 5 individuals bound by a cult-like hive mind. They terrorize small towns with their horrifying supernatural sense-based powers, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Reagan, one of the Chimera, escaped and has been hiding with her murderous eyes bound. She seems to have Scott Summer eyes, but just kills people as soon as she looks at them, so she wears a mask. Overcome with guilt until now, when a victim from her past forces her to hunt down the other 4 of her kind. Now, without reading that, I would have known all that. Because I now don't get me wrong, I did enjoy the book. There's not a lot of exposition going on here. I mean, you got these 5 characters who come out of the woods, down from the mountains. They seem to be in scrubs, so they might have been in some kind of facility, but there's nothing really there. They come down and kill Art Carney for some reason, just rip his jaw off.
Oh no!
And then it just jumps to the other girl here, writing down in a diary. It looks like how horrible life is, and sometimes you're just going to die, and what can you do before you die? But it doesn't really tell whatever happened, and this is supposed to be 2 years later. So obviously, these people killed more than Art Carney. Because that guy reminded me so much of Art Carney from St. Helens. If you ever saw that St. Helens movie where Art Carney he played a man who wouldn't leave the mountain when it exploded.
Oh yeah.
So the Reagan, the chick with the mask over her eyes, comes into a diner. So apparently these people do get around this Chimera group, even though they don't seem to be the good guys either. So they get around. This one has left, obviously, because she didn't get along with the other ones because they went around, and it sounds like they might have murdered almost the entire town. And this other girl, her family was there and got killed. But you're really not sure unless you read the description on their website what really happened. So the other girl kidnaps Reagan, takes her to a hotel. Then this other group of people just show up and start blasting everything. And that's when you see Reagan's eye destruction, and she just takes off her mask and starts glowing blue, and all these people start bleeding from their eyes, but she has to keep her face covered up, or her eyes, so that doesn't happen to everybody apparently, which is cool. I wish the art's really good, but I wish there was more in the book to tell me what was going on. The lettering's fine. There's some special effects. There's some sound effects. Yeah. Stuff like that. There's not enough story in it. It needs to be a little more story. I'm still interested to see what's going on because I want to know what's going on. Especially when they show the other 4 people that Reagan ran away from because they had been killing everybody in town. And they look like they're hiding up in the hills and dressing like the Amish. So I don't know what's going on there. Well, I guess you got Wolverine there. But, and the other, now here's an issue with Boom Studios books for me. So that's the last page of the book. And it's been every book I've got from Boom. There's ads. There's 2 more pages. 2 more pages of ads. So there's a lot of fluff in the Boom Studio books, but I haven't been disappointed in a Boom Studio book. This could have been a lot better. I mean, it could have been a lot more of the story could have been told so you knew what was going on. I mean, put some captions in there or something, but it was missing a lot of that. So you kind of left wondering what's going on, which maybe that's their point. They wanted you to keep wandering and get into a second issue. But I learned more by reading the little synopsis on their website than I did reading the book. So, I mean, okay, it sounds like it's going to be a bad review. Sounds like it's going to be a really low number, but I'm going to give it an 8 because I like the art. What there was of a story I did like. I wish there was more, and I will pick up the second issue to see if I like it. There's been other books that I didn't pick up a second issue, that Midnight Theater Cowboy thing. Of course, I don't think that's ever come out, so that's probably a good thing. But I give Basilisk an 8 for Boom Studios. It's still in stores. Came out this week. Go check it out. See if you like it. See if you disagree with me. Hey, you might like it more than me, but I liked it, so I'm good.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that is a good thing, folks. If you go to your shops and pick up a book on our recommendation, let us know what you think of it. Seriously, we'd like to get your feedback too. To Davies Artistry said Hawkins make a paper airplane with that comic and set it sailing.
I will tell you something else. It does have a way different feel than the DC books.
What would you say? Slick or matte or what?
I would say higher quality paper.
Yeah, this had kind of a matte feel to it too, but a higher quality. It's
a lot. It's thicker, and it feels like a more quality book than the DC books I bought this week.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned the ads and everything. In mine, they did bunch them up at the end, but that was so you could read the whole story straight through. So at least
I just don't like getting to the last page of the story, then going and feeling a whole bunch more pages to go, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, well, heads up, DC's doing the same thing this month, but it's all in connection to their Pride celebration books and such. So, Brian Rodman says, Basilisk sounds like a Rodman family reunion. I got to read this book. And Brian Hawkins says, Art Carney, oh no! and Brian Rodman says, R.I.P. Art Carney, you had a good run. And his favorite part is when Eric tries to pronounce names, nothing but the most prestigious minds here at Comic Book Spectrum. We will remember this when you get back.
It was working up here, but it wasn't going to come out of here.
Yeah.
That happens. I still wonder one thing.
Yes.
When is he ever going to review a book that will ever make me interested? He made it sound like interesting whatsoever. I would not pick up that book. From the way you described it, it would have been a 3 in my case.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Well, I have to admit, I'd have probably given it a lower one too if there was if I have to go to the website to decipher the plot.
There is a lot more information. That little paragraph on the website told me more about the story than it was actually in the story. But since I like the art that was in it, I want to see where it goes from that. And the cover looked cool. I mean, there's things about maybe want to see more, but it wasn't in the book, and I'm hoping a second issue will pick that up and make me like this one better. And if it doesn't, I won't get any more of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a Danger Will Robinson sign right there. This is going to be if you go in for the long haul, you're probably going to be in there for like 4 to 5 issues before you get something of substance. That's just from my experience.
Could be.
I hope not. I hope something pays off in issue 2. If it doesn't, I'm done with it. Then I will start tossing them.
There we go. Keep your hopes up, folks. Eric could make another comic go airborne. And Lissy says, hello, Lissy. I thought that review was going to be like the time Dad made a waiter cry. I'll probably add that to my list to read.
that would actually be my daughter, I'm pretty sure.
We're getting the whole thing.
And it wouldn't be the only time I made a waiter cry.
You got to see us in the after show, Lizzie. It's the same with us. And that's okay because DC is using Charmin for its comics papers. That's Ted Davies.
Ouch.
Yeah, that hurts. Hi, Angie Watson Dudes. Hey, check out Grant Lankard's. That's Grant Lankard's wife, and check out Beowulf #2, currently funding on Kickstarter. And watching for myself and Grant Lankard. He is figuring out his new computer. Yes, his computer died on him. So he is trying to get that going. And hi, and promote the Kickstarter. Her wife's work is never done. And Cindy goes, fly, be free, little comic. And Eric is my dad. Lissy, it's very brave of you to admit that. And Eric makes me cry at least twice a week. Yeah, but it saves you $20 downtown, Brian. So quit complaining. Anyway, thank you for your comments, people. Keep them coming. And Joe D. McPhee, how about you next, sir?
Yes, let's talk about what I've been kind of ragging Clyde about.
Oh,
there's only one Wonder Girl, and that Wonder Girl is Yara Fleur. Why? Because Wonder Girl #1 finally came out, and for those who are collectors, there are multiple covers for it. I have the backing here. We have the shiny chromium cover, which I have to hold tilted, which is nice and pretty, that you could get for about like $10. Then you have the cover B here, and then the one that I don't have, which I don't believe I'm ever going to spend that much money on, and there's a J. Scott Campbell cover for like $50 here.
Ooh.
But to get back into the actual issue of Wonder Girl #1, before I start on the actual plot, I would suggest that you might pick up Future State Wonder Woman 1 and 2, because I have a sneaky suspicion what happened in those 2 issues kind of sort of plays a factor in what is going to be her true origin story that is being told here. Now, in the very beginning of the issue, it talks about Yara as a little child, and Ares happened to come to our village and was just running ransack through the village and everything. He was about to get ready to leave after he pretty much destroyed everything. You know, it was like somebody of like one of Yara's elders was there and everything. They were saying, Yara, no, we have to get out of here. He's showing us mercy. Let's get out of here. So Yara, as like a little bitty child, grabs the knife from one of the elders, runs up to Ares and stabs him in the leg. Ares turns around and is like, this is just so sad. And I'll show you the scene. It's like, it's just so sad. I hate to see, and he's actually showing remorse for having to kill a child. And it gets to the point where one of the elders was like, kind of like the whole spare her type deal and everything. And pretty much, the whole eye for eye and everything. And Yara has to watch as that one elder dies. And then the rest of them takes off and everything. And then it flash forwards to modern day with her coming back to Brazil, which is her country of origin, and going back kind of like to her hometown. While that is happening, you have places like Themyscira where Nubia finally takes over as Queen of Themyscira. You have Mount Olympus, Bana Makel, all the places that have the Amazons all of a sudden are just like kind of like something's wrong. She's not ready. She's not ready to take up this challenge. Is she capable? Is she overly naive? It's almost like as if she's not prepared to take on the mantle. So they know that she's about to get ready to deal with something very, very heavy, dealing with the aspect of being an Amazon. So, she finally gets to Rio de Janeiro, and she sees that there was an accident. There was a car accident. The car is about to explode and whatnot. She saves the guy, pretty much comes out unscratched and everything like that. And then all the other places are talking about, is she ready for the challenge that is set before her? We need to get to her. One set of people saying we have to kill her. The other one's like, no, we have to train her. The other said it's like, no, whatever happens, happens. But all three factions are trying to get to her all at one time. And they're wondering if there's enough time to get to her. So she's there in Rio de Janeiro, not thinking much of anything. It's like this is the first time that she's been back to Rio de Janeiro in I think it was like several years. And then all of a sudden you see the whirlpool take place here, where an entity reaches up and grabs her, pulls her into the water, and then she's hearing like the siren song and whatnot, and her trials begin with her encountering this being here. Now, the reason why I mentioned the Future State Wonder Woman, it was the beginning pages of this. And not to ruin Future State Wonder Woman, the first 5 or 6 pages of Wonder Girl #1 could be the reason of what actually happened with Future State Wonder Woman 1 and 2. So it seems like everything gets tied nicely together in one big bowl here. As a whole, I liked the comic. It was a good start to make you engage and make you care about Yara Flor. Could it be written better? Yes. Could it explain a little bit more why all the other Amazon factions are not liking her? Most definitely, because that was one of the most confusing parts of this book so far. It's like normally when you dealt with anybody that took up the mantle or pick up the mantle of Apostle being another Wonder Woman, you didn't have this controversy like you had with a Donna Troy or a Cassandra Sandsmark. Pretty much Donna Troy was just, there and was just a being that DC just created to be like the understory to Diana, while Cassandra Sandsmark was pretty much mentored by Diana, but Yara Flor had nobody. She was a part of a tribe that most of the other Amazon tribes really didn't have too much dealing with. And now all of a sudden they're worrying about Yara. And they're not explaining why. I hopefully, as this goes along, I hope that they explain why these other factions are not in favor of her or worry about her. But because of that reason, I would have to give this book pretty much a 7 out of 10. My 7 is pretty much more so because there's a lot of mystery behind this, but not having a feeling that they're going to explain it later is what's really kind of getting into my craw as far as is everything going to be explained later on in the series or not. But I do like the way that they tied in the future state Wonder Woman kind of sort of in this one issue to kind of set that bridge between the two, which is kind of like a saving grace here. But that's pretty much it in my opinion here. So I would recommend it, especially if you're a Wonder Woman fan. I would definitely recommend it. It's probably better than most of the stories that they have right now, especially with dealing with that whole Viking story. I just can't deal with that story in like 771 and 772. Mm-hmm. That's just not good stuff. But wow. Wonder Girl #1 is a good pickup for you if you want to get more into what Yara Fleur is really about.
Very cool. Now, who wrote and drew it?
I believe it's John Jones and Belair, but I don't know their first name. But give me 1 second here. Okay, I could tell you that in a second because it's on the last page. Jonelle Jones and Jordi Belair. Joella Jones is the writer artist for this, and Jordi Belair is the colorist.
Yeah, Joelle Jones did some really good Catwoman about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I noticed this week when I went to Walmart, they still have those 4 to a pack comics with a little mini poster and everything inside. And one of the choices I saw last week was the original Future State Wonder Girl #1. So if somebody wants to snag that, run down to your local Mart of Wall. So
right.
and
those are in short demand too, because they're like in limited supply. I do know about that.
Aha. Instant collector's item.
Yeah. So if you can find the Walmart packs that have the Future State Wonder Woman, just to let you know, they are in short supply.
Darn, I got the sketch cover and drew on it when it came out.
Well, now it's rare. Now it's even rarer because you've got it. You've got all your ink on it. So
one of the things about this Wonder Girl issue, one of the things about it, it felt like for the first time that I can remember, they're actually adding to the tapestry of the Amazon legends.
Exactly.
With her at the forefront. And it's for the week that came out. And when I was just happy to find that I got this old Wonder Girl cover that when I was a kid, I loved. And then this came out the same week, and it was like they were just together. I like that. But as far as Donna Troy being a great Wonder Girl, compared to what they're doing right now, she is awesome. I think that was the best comic I read that week. And I thought of you when I read it because I was like, yes, all those different factions of Amazons all coming together with different views and their different outlooks. But it's a really exciting start, I think. And it was one of those, it's like, this is it. Give me more. I want more of this story, and the mysteries. I wanted some more answers, just like what you're saying, but it is definitely worth picking up. It is a great issue.
Very cool. Very cool. Or do what Eric does. Just go to their website and see if they'll tell you what it's
There might be more information out there. Like, well, I'll leave. I had opinions. I liked the Future State when it came out. I bought the first issue. I didn't follow up with it. I liked it, but it seemed like they picked someone from South America because they thought Amazon meant someone around the Amazon area. That's what it seemed like, the writer and them leading up to that, which I don't care who they picked, but it seemed like they didn't know where region the Amazons were from. And when I read it and read everything leading up to it, but I did like the art in it. I did like the story. I just didn't follow up on it after I picked that Future State. I just picked up to curiosity. Looked good though.
Cool.
That's why I got the sketch cover and drew all over it.
There you go. And let's see. Here we go. And Brian Rodman said, Eric makes me cry twice a week. And the Historical Fencing Guild, Nicholas Anthony Tucker, Friday nights on YouTube, said Jody McPhee needs to be a regular. The cutthroat but loving approach is interesting. We need somebody to be the bad cop on this panel, I guess. He's doing a great job, too. And Jennifer Hawkins says, listen, he has made more than one waiter cry. And talking about Eric. And it sounds like your family's in attendance tonight, Eric.
It's been a few. Yeah.
How sweet. Anyway, Ted Davis Artistry says that's why they call Hawkins the Captain of Tears. He's an animal. He loves it. And Joe, the art looks amazing on the DC Comics, says Ted Davies. I have to say, wicked, bro. And Jennifer Hawkins continues, Ted Davies Artistry, it is not so fun when you are with him sometimes.
Hey. I've had to go in back a Cracker Barrel and get my own silverware because the waitress would never bring it out to us. And they're like, "Hey, do you need some help?" I said, "No, I'm getting it myself, but thank you." "Oh, okay." I'm like, really?
Apparently, sarcasm is lost on these guys, right? This is why Cookie doesn't work there anymore. And Ted Davies Artistry says, Jennifer, we all have our crosses to bear. Many prayers sent. And Ted Davies says he's bare right now. Brother, that's oversharing. Really. And Brian Rodman says, wait, I'm interested in a new DC book. Yep, my oxygen is low. But in all seriousness, the art looks excellent. Or bears to crosses indeed. And Lissy says, Jennifer, waiters, managers, we can't take him in public. Now you know how Cookie feels, Eric. Anyway, says, and she says, I really like the costume this Wonder Woman wore. Mm-hmm. It was a nicely designed uniform.
Very nicely designed, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that Donna Troy, who was kind of like a DC's afterthought to the Teen Titans, she had that one sparkly one from the new Teen Titans 50 back in the day, and it looked like stippling with stars on it and all. And I'm like, only Perez could draw that thing. Only Perez would want to draw that thing. I could just see Tom Grummett and everyone following, going, "Why you run, son of a." And that's why they keep changing it. And Ted Davies Artistry says, Joe, you rock. I'm a fan now of the Wonder series. And Brian Rodman says, my biggest issue with the Big Two is that they set up a mystery that may or may not play out. The book can get dropped at the drop of a hat, or it'll just get rebooted in a year. Yeah, that's true of the Big Two, especially if it doesn't work, it's almost like the movie industry. If it doesn't work in the first 5 minutes, or TV, let's just cancel it and retool it and etc. But yeah, that's a good comment, Brian. Thank you very much for that. And thank you all for your comments, especially the ones that put Eric in his place. It's kind of nice to see someone else get it for a while. Anyway, we are now at that point in the program that everyone's been waiting for. Clyde Hall, what do you have for us this week, my friend?
Well, first of all, Cindy Kep, you mentioned something about the in the Heroes Reborn at Marvel. We were talking nostalgic things and stuff from that series, and your request was answered. Yes. Your request was answered in this book. So you need, if you're picking it up, this is one you definitely want to see. It is last week I did something different and a very new for me kind of a book, and I really enjoyed it. This week I was hit with a nostalgia stick a bunch, and this is nostalgic Marvel done as DC in the 70s. It's great. So, including a letter column with something that Cindy will love. So, growing up. Yeah, growing up. Thank you. The check will be in the mail. Thank you for your support. Growing up, these were always exciting comics. I always loved the Justice Society, and then they got where they would do one a year that introduced usually some of the characters that DC had bought from other companies. And the Seven Soldiers of Victory, really liked them. I don't know exactly why they resonated, but they really did more than a lot of their other, like the Freedom Fighters were okay, but Seven Soldiers were great. And then they had the Stargirl TV series, and the Seven Soldiers are part of what they put out there. And so, actually, I think it was in the back of Wonder Girl 1 where I saw the ad for this. I normally don't do specials because usually they don't tell just one story. They're an anthology. They have a theme like the Halloween special and the holiday special. Sometimes I'll pick up a holiday special just for a Christmas spirit, but Spring Break special does not appeal to me. Stargirl, the TV series, I really liked. And I saw that Jeff Johns was writing this. He is one of the co-showrunners, so I picked it up. And it is different. One that I would not normally get, I really enjoyed. You have Todd Knock doing this cover, and there's another variant cover, but he did this one, and it is his artwork throughout. That is one of the main reasons that I enjoyed this issue so much. And I'll show you a few highlights here. We see not only the original Seven Soldiers of Victory, but like on the cover, we have the new iteration of them. And here's one where the new Crimson Avenger, the modern day Crimson Avenger, comes a-calling. Very nice and dramatic. They have some, I thought, interesting takes on framing. I really like the way this page was laid out from two different perspectives, two different characters. I like that. Knock really knocked it out of the park, no pun intended, but it was quite good. Here's your modern day Seven Soldiers. So, if you are a fan of the TV show, which I know some people that liked it quite a bit, some that were not, but if you like it, this is worth picking up especially. Stargirl Spring Break Special #1, DC, $5.99 cover price, written by Jeff Johns, art by Todd Knock, colors by Hi-Fi, and we have the maturity level of ages 13 and over. DC's long celebrated their golden age roots, not only their own, but like we said, properties they bought up from other publishers. From the end of an era when superhero comics largely fell from favor in lieu of crime and horror and humor. People were selling out cheap. Quality comics and others, DC either bought them out or sometimes they went into legal action and ended up inheriting their characters. Marvel celebrates theirs less as they didn't seem to have the means for acquiring additional properties, and maybe because some of their Golden Age hits were more modest, except for Captain America, Submariner, and the Human Torch. Many writers and artists reinventing Golden Age characters for the Silver Age at DC had actually worked on some of those characters originally, and they saw merit in things like the Justice Society and the Justice League members teaming up. Later worthies like Roy Thomas resurrected and expanded backstories for earlier heroes in both companies, like titles like All-Star Squadron and The Invaders, most of them set in World War II. Still later, James Robinson and Jeff Johns brought JSA members and legacies into the modern era with that self-same title and with defining runs like Stars and Stripe and Starman. It's no coincidence Johns is co-show running with Melissa Carter, and Robinson is a producer for the CW television series Stargirl. And as the second season of that TV show is being prepared, John presents an aperitif in Stargirl Spring Break Special #1, a title, something to get you ready for the season. The title implied a DC special like many of the others, and yet Johns constructs a singular adventure. He builds on elements presented in the TV series. He tidies some of the differences between series and comic continuity, and he gives us a new Seven Soldiers of Victory iteration as they undertake a mission. They must save Lee Travis, the original Crimson Avenger. Johns soldiers into the modern era with classic members Green Arrow, Shining Knight, Vigilante, and Stripesy, or now with his robotic armor, Stripe. They are joined by Jill Carlisle as the new Crimson Avenger, Amiko Queen as Red Arrow, and of course, Courtney Whitmore as Stargirl. This expands on information Pat Dugan shared with stepdaughter Courtney in the TV series and gives the soldiers a JSA-style treatment, uniting original mentors, new legacy characters into a next-generation team. The narrative reveals a temporal mystery using Carlisle's Cursed Avenger as an expositional catalyst and a spiritual guide through the mystery of Lee Travis's final adventure. Supervillain Clock King attempts redemption by time-hopping into the past, and the final fates of some young characters like the Crimson Avenger's sidekick, Wing, Dan the Dynamite, and Secret are revealed as less certain than readers may have believed. Now, this story has a level of resolution, but there's some other dangers and rallying foes and questions remaining unsolved because this issue is a gateway into the new Stargirl title soon expected on DC's monthly solicitations. Because of this, readers expecting a tidy narrative wrap may be disappointed. If you don't like John's work, you probably won't like this. The 38-page one-shot also carries a $5.99 price tag. They do have some extras. They have a one-page feature by Stargirl actress Brie Bassinger and Amy Brockway Metcalf. They have a splash page mini treat from Brian Hitch, and they have pinups by Jerry Ordway and Fred Hembeck to offset the heftier price tag. I wish they could have just stuck it as a regular issue, like even a special secret file or something, but they try to make it worth the price. More than worth the cover price is Todd Knox's Pitch Perfect art, including one version of the cover. He energizes every panel. He gives the book a vibrancy and a youthful energy rivaling Stargirl's cosmic staff. His style fits the flashback to earlier times as much as it works with the modern heroes. The original soldiers and the updated team are rendered with endlessly pleasing equilibrium. His dynamism infuses action sequences, and it also gives sparks to more laid-back personal interactions. He gives them a chemistry that I like. In a matter paralleling youthful optimism, there's connective excitement pulsing in each section of the book. The hi-fi colors laid on top of that, and the art gets punched into overdrive. With little shadow, the palette is very bright. The chromatic ripples and the prismatic energies managed by hi-fi make action scenes especially thrilling. The lettering by Rob Lee doesn't crowd those gorgeous noculos, even on pages with pretty weighty dialogue boxes and conversations. They also incorporate sound effects into the background colors in a way I thought was clever. And his smart speech balloons, they're shapes. He does these smart shapes in variations to keep dialogue attribution very sharp. Johns is a solid storyteller, and any dissatisfaction with his narrative due to unsolved conflicts or unanswered questions is quelled when considering the books of series pre-launch, or at least it worked that way for me. The other three members of the creative team smooth over remaining bumps by skillfully evoking that visual wizardry. On a grander scale, the book manages something elusive for a lot of Warner DC projects. The tone and spirit of this comic mirror those of a live-action offering in the best ways. Of course, having Johns involved in both probably contributes to this. On a smaller scale, this special issue also builds into the animated version of the Seven Soldiers presented in one of my favorite Justice League Unlimited episodes, Patriot Act. Stargirl and her team are not the most powerful heroes on DC's battlefields. They're human men and women of extreme skill and wondrous weapons, some mystical, some high-tech, and they're doing the right thing without native powers because making the world better is everyone's duty. Using superhuman powers or just being a decent human being can accomplish the same goal. And this comic carries that kind of old-fashioned torch. It shows how a positive, selfless ideal still makes for exciting adventures. My rating this week for Stargirl Spring Break Special #1, I'm going to rate it at 7, just because the story does have a lot of open questions left because of its nature.
Interesting. It's kind of interesting how many comics this week are open as they are. That there's a lot of room to grow, and or stuff you can put on the website if you really want people to know what's going on. So interesting. Thank you, Clyde. That was super. And let's see here. Yes, Brian Rodman. Not here, but still a part of the panel. Clyde, I am interested in Stargirl, yet you've now made me want to read this book. I blame you for adding this book to my list. Curse your sultry tones and magical vocabulary. Ooh. Cannot resist the allure, Brian. And Clyde said, and Brian Rodman said, hey, Clyde said duty. That's the sort of level we
not that kind.
Yeah. And that brings up a point. I did forget to mention Blue Flame does have some grown-up language. Not a lot, but be aware of that.
Like
and
duty?
Yeah, well Not like duty, but it's the other S word I don't allow on my shows. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Todd Knox's art's really good. I've always liked his art, and especially I haven't seen him do it in a while, but he used to do a lot of live videos where he was drawing on Post-it notes.
Ooh.
And he would color them with Copic markers. They look great. He would give them away sometimes to people watching if they send in something. Really good, really cool, really nice artist too.
Yeah, I loved his old Young Justice with Peter David. That was some good reading there. So, and Ted Davies Artistry said, Clyde, you are a master of review. That's why the rest of us go first, so that you'll stick around and watch Clyde. So, and Philippe is mocking us his laughter. Good for you. And Carl Witzman says, good reviews tonight. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. Now, Cindy Kep had something way back here. And it's a multi-part question. I will read to us all. A question for y'all comic book experts. That's you three. My dad is a stamp and coin dealer. He acquired a couple comics in a recent collection. Harley Ryder was touted by the owner as being a famous artist and was therefore the extra bomb in the bomb diggity. So he wanted to get more money for the stamp collection because of it. I need to net nerd. But do you all recognize these folks? Okay, get ready, folks. Get ready, guys. Neil Cohen, Gray Morrow, Bill Overgaard, Bill Overgaard. I recognize that name. Frank Springer, that one. Vince Waller, yes. I don't recognize him, but I'm not that fabulous with names. But I do recognize a couple of them. Gray Morrow,
and Frank Springer. I have heard, and Gray Morrow did The Vigilante.
Yes.
Remember he would do the Vigilante.
The Vigilante.
And El Diablo that we were talking about, the old Western El Diablo character.
Yeah. And he's done a lot of paintings, a lot of paperback cover paintings. Did a lot of stuff in the 50s and came back to DC in the early 70s. Bill Overgaard, I have to look it up on, but he's a former newspaper strip artist. I want to say he did like Carrie Drake or one of those detective ones. Frank Springer has been around since the 60s. He did Dazzler. He inked Frank Robbins on The Invaders. He's a penciler and an inker. He's also done Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., VB Zeitgeist from an old magazine. Did a lot of stuff for the National Lampoon. Where else? I think he was an assistant on Terry and the Pirates for a while with George Wonder. Really versatile, really great artist. And Vince Waller, I should know that name. I think he's
a storyboard artist, and he's most famously known for Ren and Stimpy and SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, nice. Now, Neil Cohen, I'm sorry, I do not recognize that name. But Bill Overgaard, I've got to look that up now. So, Bill Overgaard. There it is. It pops right up. So the algorithms are working. Let's see. And let's see. I'm going to comics. There we go. Because there's about 4,000 Bill Overgaards. He is an illustrator. Did things like Captain Triumph, Minuteman back in the 40s. Then there's something in German that I don't read. And the comics reporter. Let's see what else. He's done romance comics, and let's see what else. I'm trying to think. Some crime comics.
Are they European comics?
They look like, yeah. Well, some of the crime comics are American, but let's see. And Bill Overgaard, and that's. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. Anyway, he is a former comic book artist. Steve Roper, that was the name of the newspaper strip. Steve Roper, I think it was about a two-fisted investigative police, or not police, but a reporter cameraman. So anyway, that was it. So yeah, definitely. I don't know what that book would be worth. You might check with an Overstreet price guide or with comicspriceguide.com. But that's quite a novelty there, and it's like you've got some familiar names, some mainstream names in there, Cindy. So tell your dad to take care of that book. So and let's see, here we go. Oh, and Philippa's enjoying the banner. Glad you are. Glad you are. And S word, what? Stop? No, it's a white precipitation that happens every winter that you shovel off your drive, and I hate the hell out of it. So anyway,
You say it's snow now.
No, he can't. No, he
Snow
can't. Unless he
Ambition?
talks about the book.
Get the hook.
Unless he talks about
Snow
a certain
Ambition?
storybook. He can
Yes,
say
okay,
that.
Snow Ambition. Okay,
Snow
there's only
shorts.
one
Yeah.
snow that y'all should be paying attention to. And it's this book, available for 99 cents from Amazon currently, and it's a standalone book. You don't need the others. Mine is awesome. Anyway, thank you, Eric. Let's see.
Who
And
is
Ninja Ginko never
yaying
uses
me?
that word. Good for you. And I will say that in my book here, there is that word. See? And there's a sound effect, so Eric will be happy. Yeah, there's 2 pages of it. So it is a horror comic. I thought it was superhero, but it's actually a horror comic. Yes.
Who was yaying this? Somebody was very vocally. Yeah.
Oh, Cindy Cat.
That
No,
was
Cindy
Cindy.
Cat was.
That was
Cindy.
Cindy.
Cat was. Cindy
sorry?
went yay.
Cindy.
Cindy Cat went
Oh,
yay.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of you guys going yes, yes, but
Oh, it was
okay,
me. I was doing it
reading
for
her.
Cindy.
Okay.
I was
Gotcha,
channeling my inner
okay.
Cindy.
Okay.
Angie Watson Duda says, my daughter who is 13 loves Stargirl. I love comics that involve teen girls because it invites girls to see themselves in superheroes.
Ah, cool.
Very, very cool. And Cindy says, thanks. I'll let Dad know that they all did some recognizable stuff. I'm going to guess, though, Vince, Waller, SpongeBob, etc., was probably the artist he was supposed to be impressed with. I'll look it up. And Brian Hawkins says, yes, Frank Springer did work on some issues of US 1. I think he also did a couple. I think he also did some issues of maybe G.I. Joe. He was on almost all but the first couple and last year of Dazzler when she first came out. He's one of those people. He's inked just about everything and drawn just about everything. He is a really superb artist, and he passed away a couple of years ago. Sorry to say, but yeah, he was a very, very fast artist. So now we always try to come up with another subject, and we still have a little time here. And we were talking, and Joe, I should have brought you in on that channel. I'm sorry, Joe, but we.
So you're going blindside him?
Yeah, pretty. No, I gave my heads up. I gave my heads up because I'm not that bad a guy.
Okay.
Oh, and Brian Rodman says, Angie, you should check out Paper Girls from Image Comics if you haven't already. Mm-hmm. And yes, says Brian Hawkins, he worked on some G.I. Joe Transformers too. That's right. Yeah. Very, very cool. Thank you, Brian Hawkins. I appreciate that. But no, I believe Clyde brought up, people are always coming into this saying, what should I read as far as like trade paperbacks to get a good taste of, some good comics. Mine happens to be like the entire DC Showcase, DC Archive, and Marvel, Masterworks series, but that gets a little heavy. But if you had to hand them like one series of paperbacks or trade paperbacks or hardcovers or something that is easily findable, what would you recommend? And there was some good stuff came up. I am prepared with my answer.
Well, go, and I'll grab my answer off the shelf.
I beg your pardon. Anyway, but no.
That's a difficult question.
Yes, it is. It is a difficult
question because I always base my recommendation off of the person who's asking me, but based upon their
right.
I thought of that later. Yeah, that's an excellent point, Joe. My thinking is what I'm about to recommend is kind of like transcends the genre it's in. And he is undeniably one of the finest writers to appear in comics, although you won't know it from this book. Aha, how enigmatic, Brian. Anyway, I love Ollie's. I sincerely love the Ollie's chain because you find all kinds of stuff. It's one of those places like Best Buy, or not Best Buy, Big Lots, excuse me, where they kind of buy up collections of stuff. And so, like, you may get, like, chocolate bird seed one week, and then it's gone. You'll never see it again. And then the next week they have, like, just, tennis shoes, but only the left one. that sort of thing.
Mhm.
They regularly have comic books in the little plastic bags, which are kind of fun because some of them are like fairly recent and they're bundled up with stuff from the 90s. So there's quite a spread there. I was in mine recently, and I picked up some books here, and these are some of my favorite comics. Now, these are not for the whole family. These get dark. Okay. In fact, it's a 3-volume set. 2 of them, and you can see the little poking out of the corner there.
Mhm. I know the first one. I am aware of the first one.
Yeah. Real brief history of this. When Captain Marvel, the character we now know as Shazam, went under in 1953, it was still selling great in Britain. So Britain created their own version of Captain Marvel. They called him Marvel Man. And then in the early 80s, in a magazine called Warrior, Alan Moore, who wrote arguably some of the greatest comic stories in history for Marvel and DC and other companies, and a lot of it's been made into movies that he spits on now because he's kind of anyway. And
he's a little touched,
just a little bit. But I guess if I was having regular conversations with these serpent god of another realm, I would probably be a little different too. But anyway, one of the things he wrote was a revival of that book. Is called it's called Miracle Man here in the States because Marvel Comics said you can't call him that. You can't call him Marvel Man. So let me fill the screen here. And it starts out as kind of like a modern update of the old character. And yes, that is Alan Davis who did this cover of Excalibur, the Nail, most of the mutant title fame. And in this, the kid who was the original Miracle Man, Mickey Moran, grows up, is married, trying to have kids. And one day he remembers the magic word that turns him into a god. And the first book, actually all 3 books reprint not just the regular Miracle Man series, but it also reprints selected stories from what was called the Apocrypha, which were like side stories by Kurt Busiek and other creators. But anyway, as the series is kind of straightforward, but still mature in the first one. Now, the other 2 come with a parental warning for a good reason. There is, in this book here, for instance, Miracle Man conceives a child, and the birth is shown in grisly detail. Plus, there is some violence in this one. And this one also some really wild concepts in this one. Between all 3 of them, it moves from a superhero, almost a superhero pastiche, into what would happen if superheroes and supervillains really, really fought tooth and nail. The foreshadowing is superb. And again, this is by Alan Moore, but because of an agreement with Marvel Comics, mostly a disagreement, he is listed as the original writer, and that is all. Okay. But actually, the art is also followed up by Rick Veitch, John Totleben, Alan Davis, as I said earlier. Gary Leach was the original artist. It is beautiful art all the way through. And like I said, the foreshadowing is excellent. For when at one point he talks about, well, those Rebek and Lear, talking about the Marvel Man family. We had the 3 that we knew of, and then there's Rebek and Lear, but we need not discuss them till later. And then next issue, you meet Big Ben, the man with no time for crime, and he's one of them. And then you meet the other person, and it leads up to the this is a spoiler. It does lead up to what happens when superheroes decide enough is enough. We will now dictate the terms under which you all live. And they followed Alan Moore up with another guy who was kind of a newbie at the time. His name was Neil Gaiman. And he took the book in another different direction. Hopefully one day they'll reprint that. But actually complete the stories that they started. But anyway, brilliant storytelling, beautiful art, very mature, a lot of violence. And also Chuck Beckham. I forgot to mention Chuck Beckham. He took over the art after a point, and he later became Chuck Austin, who wrote for DC and Marvel. And so they were very tough. But anyway, that whole collection, original prices on these. The 3rd volume is the thickest. It's got the most pages. But this one is $40. This one is 35, so that's 75, and another 30 makes $105. I picked these up for $26, all three. Okay, so if you've got all these near you, check out and see if you can pick up the Miracle Man collection. But that is my collection, mostly because the stories are so well told. But they are dark. Oh dear God, how they're dark. But then again, there's also some moments of levity where, like one time, Miracle Man meets a kid who doesn't know what Miracle Man's about and gets all kinds of embarrassing questions that all of his superpowers cannot answer. So anyway, that is my recommendation for somebody who, these are great books. They're well constructed. The stories are good. The art is gorgeous. And also there's a lot of extras in here too, like penciled pages, developmental sketches, version art, really lovely stuff. It's well worth the money. It really is.
One of the things about that title that a friend was asking me about it, and I know that they had an abusive childhood. Do you remember the Miracle Girl story? So I kind of warned them, like Joe was saying, you kind of got to know the person. And I'm like, it is an excellent series, but if you have been abused as a child, you might want to be careful in going into it if those kind of things trigger bad memories for you.
That's true. There are some triggerable moments. That's a good point. It is nothing I'd leave on the coffee table and risk a kid seeing. There are some very gory scenes in there. And issue 8 alone was, I was working in a comic shop at the time, and it was kind of it's like I always scanned everything before we put it on the stands, just mostly for my own curiosity. And up till then, we'd been putting Miracle Man right on the shelves. But issue 8 with the childbirth scene, I grabbed them all up and I put them behind the counter. Because I didn't want anyone putting us on the 5 p.m. news with, Daddy, I got this comic. So sort of thing. But yeah, I just think they are marvelously done, to be honest. It's superb storytelling, but again, Clyde, you're very right. There are some triggerable moments in it, but it's a story worth telling. And it's one of those kind of like Philip. They kind of go into a future that resembles Philip K. Dick more than anything.
Yeah.
I'd say, because there's some really wild concepts led by Miracle Man's daughter, who comes out of the womb and minutes later goes, "Mama." Or they take like an ultrasound and she turns up and looks at the person administering it. There is some spooky crap in this one.
Yeah.
But it is definitely worth the money, and especially since you are getting 3 quality hardcovers with a lot of beautiful art in it. I definitely recommend it. Alan Moore is one of my favorite writers, and some of his stuff reads like absolute poetry, and this is no exception. So that is my recommendation if somebody wants to read a good comic book in a collected form. What about you guys?
Well, you gave me enough time to pick out 3 that I would recommend just in general cases. But normally, like I said, I normally pick things based upon people's personality.
Yeah.
The first one is something that I fell in love with back when I was like in high school and everything, because it really taught you a lot about the world we live in and how people would respond to certain aspects of life. Mm-hmm. And that is the Chris Claremont and Brent Eric Anderson's X-Men God Loves Man Kills.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Super example.
That this story here is a great reflection of how the world works as far as how people deal with being different in general. Because again, it's like the way that Claremont used the aspect of religion to truly talk about things about racism and stuff to that magnitude was superb. It was unassuming. He wasn't beating you upside the head with it, but at the same time, you got the point of the story and how far this one minister would go.
Yeah.
To do what he was trying to do, which was eradicate all mutants. Was speaking so much against mutant kind that he eventually created a device that could actually identify and pick out mutants based upon the frequency. And the only way he was stopped is because he used the machine in the middle of a broadcast, and his right-hand person heard that signal and was affected by it. He turns around to start the killing, and then a police officer shoots him first.
Yeah.
To show that the everyday man can rise above to do the right thing.
Yeah.
That's why I love this book so much. It was just so well written.
Yeah, and beautiful artwork.
Now, the next one is more of kind of like a modern day tale, and it's by Christopher Moeller, and that is Justice League of One.
Oh, wow. Good choice.
Now, the reason why I picked this one, because when you think about the Justice League, you always think about, well, when the chips are down, you always count on Superman. This story is not that way. This story is really told from the standpoint of Wonder Woman and how far Wonder Woman was willing to go to defend everybody else without getting anybody else hurt. And the fact that she did some horrible things to the Justice League to keep them out of harm's way. I mean, literally almost coming to the point of almost killing some of them. Yeah. She didn't kill them. She incapacitated them, put them in certain scenarios where they were busy. Even got to the point where Superman was like, she got to a fight with Superman, and she pretty much had to tell us, like, look, I know I can't beat you heads on, but here's the deal with what's going on with everybody else. They need you. I have to deal with this. And then after it was all said and done, and this is the scene that I like the most after it was all said and done, after she destroys the entity and everything, Superman comes back. Kal-El comes back to save her at the last second. Gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and everything. He was happy that she survived, and then he walks off, and he was like, and then Diana was like, why are you still angry? It's like, you could have came to us, you could have told us. It's like, but Diana's response was, if the situation was in reverse, would you have done the same thing? And Kal-El couldn't say nothing. He would have done the exact same thing. And that would make this book so powerful to me. It was that last scene where he admits that he would have done the exact same thing if the chips were down. Now, the last one is kind of a Marvel masterworks, because it's going to be awfully hard to get all 25 issues of this series. And considering the fact that this writer has recently passed away unexpectedly, I would suggest the Savage She-Hulk, if you could get it in Marvel Masterworks Volume 1 and Volume 2. David Anthony Kraft wrote a very good story about Jennifer Walters when she first became the She-Hulk, and the transition of being the She-Hulk, dealing with her father, who was a Orange County sheriff of Los Angeles, and dealing with, going to school, finishing up her school to be a lawyer and all this other stuff, and still dealing with the fact that she is this new entity, and the way that she had to deal with life as a whole while being the She-Hulk. And a lot of times you saw that internal struggle where she actually fought from being the way that she was, until we got to the John Byrne version of her in Sensational, where she finally accepts that she is who she is. But we would have never got to the John Byrne version until David Anthony Kraft showed us in the first 25 issues what this character could really be. So those would be my 3 recommendations in general as a whole.
Excellent choices. And by the way, Frank Springer inked a number of those Savage She-Hulks there over Mike Fosberg's pencils.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I told you it's everywhere.
Yep.
So no, the good choices. I have to admit that I was thinking of David Kraft too when I was thinking of stuff to recommend. But no, excellent. Really, I'm digging the choices here. So Clyde, Eric, either of you have
Sure.
Why am I clenching when I hear that?
He's far too excited. He's scaring me.
Brian's favorite book by Frank Miller. Also, no, I like the art in it.
Some American Sign Language right now. Guess what this is? Back to you, Eric.
So this book, I had the single issues of this when I was in high school. Came out in 86, 87. I let someone borrow them and never got them back, so I ended up having to buy the trade paperback. But this story is just always, it's what made me fall in love with Daredevil and most of Marvel along with that, because you got the Avengers in it, and the Kingpin is a criminal. It was great. But it is Frank Miller, but it's the Born Again saga.
Yeah.
So it's the descent of a man into just insane. Kingpin destroys Matt Murdock's life, Daredevil, because he finds out who Daredevil is. He finds out he's Matt Murdock, and he just destroys his life, and it just drives Daredevil insane. I mean, he goes nuts, and everything's horrific for the man, and his secret identity was sold by his girlfriend for a shot of heroin. That's how Kingpin found out. A heroin addict gave up his identity. Which the last season of the Daredevil show on Netflix, it was loosely based on this, but it didn't go into the heroin. I was hoping it would go that way, but it had some iconic scenes when Kingpin's trying to get Matt Murdock killed, and in a taxi goes off a pier, and they don't find the body. But this is a story of a man who loses everything, has to regain his sanity, and fight all the way back up to become the man he was. And there's so much in it that I loved. From the art, and I don't know how to pronounce the artist's last name, Mazzucchelli? Mazzucchelli. It's like the other guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, that you pronounced the other day on someone's show. You know who. I've been calling him Stickovich forever. But I can remember riding my bicycle, because I wasn't driving when this came out, I don't think, or going across the street from the high school to Huck's, because we could go off campus to pick up, go for lunch. So I go across the street. Everybody else is standing in line to go get food, and I'm looking through the few comics they had. And this was one I was looking forward to. Every story made me want to see what happened. Daredevil tries to fight Kingpin, gets his butt kicked severely. And there's so many side stories. You got Foggy, him having to deal with stuff. You got Ben Urich, which I hated seeing his character die on the TV series. Hated it. Him having to, he had the same problem with Daredevil. He wasn't broken mentally, but he was broken physically and was afraid to tell stories about the Kingpin until he finally decided he had to again. But the great thing about picking it up in trade paperback, you get all the great story of classic 80s Marvel, 80s comics, the art, but you also get cool stuff like penciled pages you'd never seen before, script pages you'd never seen before, and stuff like that. And, if there's two books I recommend to people, it's always Born Again, read that series, and Kraven's Last Hunt. Those are two of my favorites. And God Loves, Man Kills, because I've had that I mean, my copy's so beat up. It looks like my turtle copy here. I mean, it's messed up bad. I've read it so much.
This is like my third copy of it. So that's like my original copy is in storage. That's the beat up one. So I've been trying to pick up first editions because you can't get it in first edition anymore.
Yeah. I read that one so many times.
Around, I have at least 2 first editions around. This I think it's like either a second or third. I don't know off the top of my head here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that Daredevil story too. And you mentioned that one sequence with the Kingpin. Everybody knows, the subtitle of Daredevil is Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. And that long mental soliloquy about, I have made the big mistake. They didn't find the body. I've taken everything from him. And a man with nothing, he now has nothing to lose. And a man with nothing to lose is a man without fear.
Mm-hmm.
That was, that's the thing. I do have issues with a great deal of Miller's writing on Batman because he does portray
No,
Batman as.
I'm going to send this to you.
I have one. Thank you. One is sufficient. No, I bought the original. The original series of All-Star Batman. Going, it can't get much. Oh God, So anyway, it was just watching, see how far it went off the rails, and I wasn't disappointed. But no, I think his Daredevil run is damn near flawless. And there's one issue that actually is the issue. But in fact, I saw it today when I was downstairs sorting. It's the issue before the Born Again sequence, and it's I think it's the issue or a few issues before. But anyway, it's drawn by John Buscema, and Daredevil never shows up in his costume.
No,
several issues before he goes into this very, very small town that's corrupt, backwater kind of place. And he decides he's going to clean it up, and he never makes one appearance as Daredevil in the whole thing. It's all Matt Murdock doing.
Oh wow!
It's a super, super good story. So, but it might be in one of the collections now. But
well, I will tell you this: I do believe this does have the issue that followed up the series, which I didn't find very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some guy in a conquistador mask. It was just really weird.
Yeah,
I was like, well, you followed up a great story with I don't know what this is.
yeah. I have the earlier edition of that without the extra pages. It's just the Born Again sequence. But it's really good. That's a good choice. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Clyde, what do you have for us, sir?
Well, you had said originally that Watchmen didn't count. But to be honest, if somebody that had no background in comics asked me, it's literature. It is everything that I look for in good literature done as a graphic presentation, and I would have to include it. So, I don't know what you said, but that is one that, and I don't think you have to have a big background in comics to appreciate it.
Right.
If you know that it's based on the characters from Charlton, that's great. But you don't have to. You can just take them at face value, all those characters. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, a good follow-up, V for Vendetta, is quite good. Mm-hmm. Most of these, I've got the individual issues. So I ran and got the one trade paperback version I have, so I'm not going to have a lot to show you. But V for Vendetta is quite adult. It is very British. It's very much like the movie, but I think better. So if you have an inkling to the movie, you might find it as far as a dystopian future and a renegade bucking the system. It's quite good. When I was reading it originally, elements of it reminded me of the Prisoner television show, which I adore. So it has similar elements to that. That's one. One of the others is, again, I've got the issues. I don't have the trade paperback, but Camelot 3000. Take Brian Boland art and Mike Barr's story, and it was, I don't know how it holds up. It's a very 80s kind of book, but it was the retelling of the Arthurian legend in a dystopian future kind of setting. And just the Brian Boland art alone got me. Waiting for that issue 12 was rough because if you guys remember, it was real late coming out. It was, I won't say it was a full year late, but it was like, come on. And
Yes, it
I
was.
think that hurt it overall because people kind of tend to forget it now. But if you like the Arthurian legend and you like science fiction, I think it's quite good. Now, if you know something about comics, those two you don't have to know. Those two you don't have to really know anything about comics. But if you come in with a comic background, knowing something about comics, then Kingdom Come, especially for the DC heroes, Kingdom Come with the Alex Ross art. That first issue where you're looking at a place where superpowered people can't decide if they're on the side of the angels or if they are villains, or it's just a world of chaos because Superman has hidden from the world. And that last panel where the everyman character, Norman, is saying, somebody needs to help us. We need hope. And suddenly there was a mighty wind, not a wind, a blur of motion. Something changed the course of the mighty river below. And all of a sudden, he's back. I could not have stopped reading the rest of the series at that point. It's an amazing moment. And then as a trade paperback, you get all kinds of nice Alex Ross art. His work on the Immortal Hulk recently has made me appreciate him all over again as a new phase of his career, I think. The Apocrypha in here has story layouts, and you see pictures of his models. It's very interesting. So if you know something about DC, there's a lot of background imagery. There's a lot of things like Planet Krypton. If you look at the background of Planet Krypton, there's the Pepsi glasses, all the nostalgic stuff. So that's why it helps if you know something about the characters a bit. You won't catch all the in-jokes if you don't know that. Kind of on the same ticket, you got Marvels from Marvel Comics. And it's Alex Ross's art again. Told from it's the story of Marvel Comics in the 60s and into the 70s, told from the perspective of a guy who was a reporter, just a normal man. And that's what these tend to be. Mark Waid, Alex Ross on this. A normal person on Kingdom Come, a normal person sees the new mythology, the godlike beings. Same way with Marvels. Very similar kind of approach. But again, if you know more about Marvel Comics, you'll appreciate it more. Astro City is the first collection of Astro City, Volume 1. I think is worth a look if you know something about, again, you have Alex Ross art, but they redefine, they have analogs for the different heroes and great insightful comic commentary like, there's Astro City and all the weird, wonderful characters there that are both analogs of Marvel and DC heroes and others. And then, on the outskirts of town is Mount Kirby because we all live in the shadow of Mount Kirby. And, those kind of little insights for Astro City I like. So those would be some that are some for those that know comics, some for those that don't but want to explore graphic novels.
Very cool. Very cool.
Couple of things here.
Yeah.
For one, the movie did not do V for Vendetta justice. It left out a lot of stuff.
It did.
I was so mad that they left it out because the issues and the graphic novel had a lot more to tell.
If people like the movie, though, do you think they would like the series?
I think they would get a little bit more angry at the book because the book covered a lot more dystopia.
Right.
The fact of there was no true ethnicity in that world, and they actually told why it happened. That's the reason why I say it's like I wish the movie would have kind of gave that aspect that it's like only certain people were allowed to live, and they would explain the concentration camps a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Of course, all it's the old saw about the book is always better than the movie they make from it. Yeah.
And there's a reason why Alan Moore doesn't want his name connected to some of the stuff that they've made from his his material. And I understand that, but I thought if people saw the movie and they liked it, they would probably like the series. But you're right, they would probably be much more angry at the government as they were portrayed. But that just makes the payoff the more satisfying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Sure.
well, actually, the book explained that it's no more government. It was all ran by corporation.
Well, right.
So they would get angry at major corporations,
Right.
and make the move, to kind of like make all of these anti-monopoly laws, because technically all the corporations got together and rebuilt pretty much most of the earth. And everybody had to follow their rules because of that, because it was their resources.
Yeah.
And then the second thing here is that I could have sworn that most of Kingdom Come was told through the eyes of the host of the Spectre, because he was about to die. He was about to die, and the Spectre was going to be released back into the world without having a host as a conscious.
There's a minister, and he's based on Alex Ross's
Right, that's
father.
who was the host of the Spectre.
He was right, and that's who I was referring to. So he does entertain me.
Read Kingdom Come many times over, and that was the key thing that always threw me into that Kingdom Come series. The fact that the host of the Spectre was an actual minister, and he was like shortly about to be on his deathbed, and the Spectre was like, "We have to do something," and the minister is like, "No, you have to have faith." It's like, but I am who I am. I don't have to deal with this. We should do something. There's just too much stuff going wrong. It's like, no, have faith.
Yeah. Well,
And he taught the Spectre the last lesson that he needed to know before he died.
Yeah, he needed a more
everybody. That's
right.
Well, you brought up also the idea that so much got chopped from the original V for Vendetta story to make it fit the movie. All-Star Superman is another example. That is superb storytelling from Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. But you watch the cartoon. The cartoon's awesome. And I'm not a huge fan of retelling the story for the cartoons because it makes me feel like I'm paying for the same plot twice. But the cartoon is great, I finished watching it, and the first thing I thought was they managed to tell a similar story. Dwayne McDuffie, who did the screenplay for the cartoon, told the same story and left out the middle 6 issues, and it didn't hurt anything. There's still some good stuff that went on in there, but it just kind of points out that he just took the bookends of the plot and made a whole nother story out of it. But it still worked, but it's still not as powerful as the original. Because for all of his successes, Grant Morrison is at his best with mainstream characters because when he understands how they really work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was a little worried with his Batman run, and his Batman run's now one of my favorites because he understood the Batman character so well. So that's it.
Kind of makes you wonder about Clyde's favorite, dealing with Watchmen. Because Watchmen was almost a 1-to-1, except for the stuff dealing with the comedian, because they never truly got into the comedian's story.
It's true. That's true. Well, they did later, but more had nothing to do with it.
No, that was a Cliff Note version of the comedian. They did not do the full aspect of the comedian.
That's very true. But the thing was, when we were talking about this, my first thought was everybody says Watchmen, which I think is a great example.
Well, I'll tell you why they say Watchmen. I'll tell you because I didn't read it when it came out. I didn't read it until about 15 years ago.
Okay.
So how many years was that since it came out? I felt that it still stood up as a story.
It still does, yes.
From back then, yeah. Because not everything holds up. I mean, you could read stuff years later. I mean, and it's like, I like this as a kid. I like this as a teenager. I'm reading it now, and it's crap. Watchmen, I mean, me reading it so late in life compared to when it came out, I really enjoyed it, and I think it stands, the test of time as a story.
Yeah, it really does, and a lot of stuff, even the early Marvel stuff or DC stuff.
Almost as well as All-Star Batman. and Robin. But
No, All-Star Batman is its own universe of puke. Yeah, if I had my copies up here, they go fly. My office window is about 6 feet in that direction. Except I'm afraid some kid would pick them up. So anyway,
wow.
with their bare hands, that's even worse. But anyway, no, I really hate All-Star Batman with a white hot passion. That is not my favorite comic.
I would agree. Watchmen holds up, and I feel that V from Vendetta will hold up just as much. Just like God Loves Man Kills holds up just as much today.
Yeah. Well, they all talked about certain qualities that, in some cases, like in the case of the X-Men book, unfortunately, we're still dealing with that sort of thing these days. But a lot of the stuff that the concepts they, and same with V for Vendetta to a degree, but they take out a lot of the they don't have a lot of the cultural bookmarks, if you will, that kind of lock that story into that particular era. Like how many times have they had to revise the Fantastic Four origin? They started out beating the commies to the moon, and now they're like trying to. I think last time I read it, they were trying to validate an experimental warp drive or something like that. It's like unfortunately, some things do not age as well as they should. Especially like early Superman. That's almost a completely different character now. So
that kind of like the one book that I wish would come back, but I don't think it will ever come back, and that's Challengers of the Unknown.
I loved Challengers, the original Challengers. Yeah. Well, the idea itself. Well, actually, they did come back in what was it, the Terrifics, or
that was short-lived.
Blink and they're gone. But the idea of adventurers living on borrowed time is an idea I think somebody like a Mark Waid or a Grant Morrison could make work. But unfortunately, they don't have like flashy outfits. They don't have like troubled pasts and everything. So I don't know how strong a sell that would be, or what will likely happen. Like, I see this too often in the last 30 years. You get the superstars to start the book. You get the A-list talent. And then when in almost all sales, like in 99% of the comics industry, inevitably take a downward turn because the first ones are speculators, etc. But the people who are actually reading the book maybe thinking, I'll keep going. But the people who bought it as an investment are bailing. Until you get like down here, and then the publishers see the sales figures, so we can't afford to pay this A-list talent. You down the hall, you're the new writer. Hey, listen, you down there on the street, come up here. Can you hold a pencil? You can't? Well, come up here anyway. Put in your teeth. We got an assignment for you. So, like that series, what was like the Terrifics and Silencer. Remember the DC books that were all artist driven? And except for the Terrifics, they all petered out within less than a year. And by then, almost all of them had replaced the original creative team. Because which probably didn't help matters anyway. But that's. I hate the comics industry sometimes. Anyway. So anyway, we've got some comments, and Ted Davies is still ripping on DC. No shortage of toilet paper shortage if DC keeps producing. Just kidding, BKM and Joe. Brian Rodman says, I'll show these next week, but Headlopper by Andrew McLean has some amazing trades. 3 volumes are out so far, and the 4th is available for pre-order. And of course, and I got to give a shout out to my library editions of Hellboy and Sandman. We forgot Sandman. There's one that I think almost anyone can find something to read in there. Sandman is leather bound because I'm bougie. Good for you. That's so sweet. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, there we go. And Brian Hawkins says Alan Moore spits venom on you all. I'm sure he does. Or he knows people who will. And Lizzie says, I like Alan Moore, but I rarely recommend him because he could be a bit much for some people. I mean, he has written some stuff that I think some general audience, like his Superman work, for the Man Who Has Everything and Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. that's some of that's a little tough to read, especially the latter story. But there are some things, and Moore has produced some all ages stuff, but just not a lot of it in the latter part of his American career. Brian Hawkins says, "I got the single issues of the Miracle Man reprints. Thought it was bizarre that Moore's name was not on them, but he's bizarre." Yeah.
Mile High used to send out issues of that when you ordered from them back in the 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When you started to write out a check, mail it into them, and they'd send you a comic back. Yeah, they'd throw in some Miracle Man reprints for free.
Oh, wow. I remember when issue 1 of that came out. It was kind of one of the first comics we had at the store that was underprinted. That a whole bunch of the solicitations went out, but everybody wanted it at the last second, and it was, I think, the only book we ever. When I worked at the shop, that was the only book we ever had to say one to a customer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but that's the way it goes. ComicPriceGuy.com had nothing on Harley Rider, but 4 sellers on eBay and Etsy have it from $15 to $20. That's not horrible. And ComicBookRealm.com says its value is $6. In a lot of comics, the retail market, or the resale market, I should say, is whatever the person will pay for it. Yeah. And sometimes it depends on the interest of somebody. Like if it's a NASCAR comic, you're probably going to get a NASCAR fan to pony up some larger dollars than, say, me, who couldn't tell you 3 NASCAR drivers if you tortured them. So Ted Davies Artistry says, "Joe, I love the way you bring the heart of the story to light. Love it." And Angie Watson says, "Guys, have a great night. Dinner time. Bon appetit. Have a great night. Glad you were here." And Brian Rodman says, "Born Again is Frank Miller at his best," in all caps, so it's true. And Brian Rodman says, "Eric, I'm with you, man. I was so mad when they killed Ben in the Netflix show." And Brian Hawkins,
horrible.
That's
why?
Yeah,
I was looking forward to more story with him.
Yeah, he's a great character. He really is. And Brian Hawkins says, "What is the blue figure behind Clyde? Been wondering for weeks. I know what that is. To your right, I believe.
This figure?
I believe so.
This is from a Major Matt Mason toy collection from the 60s. Major Matt Mason was about this tall. He was a lunar explorer and astronaut. They met a moon giant called Captain Laser with a Z. And Captain Laser's eyes would light up. And it's just, I collect vintage toys, and this is one I had. This is probably the coolest toy I ever had as a kid. So that's Captain Laser.
That is awesome. I love this. I used to have the Major Matt Masons myself. And here is more trivia that will not get you a free dinner. DC in the late 60s started putting out Strange Adventures and From Beyond the Unknown to reprint their old science fiction titles. And DC had licensed Major Matt Mason. But by the time the story came out, they lost the license with Mattel, I think it was. And so they redid it. Yeah,
now, you got to remember that they're one step ahead. This came out in '68, so they're one step ahead of a lawsuit because they never showed him without his helmet. He's very Spockian.
It looks just like Spock.
Yeah, just stick his
Spock's
ears.
eyes don't light up.
Yeah, but you stick Captain Laser's ears in a rice picker, and they will assume the proper shape. I saw that episode, but no. I remember it was a story by Denny O'Neil and Murphy Anderson. So wasn't half bad. Wasn't half bad. Brian Hawkins says, "By the way, great recommendations by everyone. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the feedback." And Ted Davies says, "I think we have a Fab 5 now. Just saying." And Ted Davies Artistry says, "Joe D, badass. Very good input, bro. Great guest, Fab. And what a great show, guys," says Brian Rodman. "Joe, you did good, my man." And Brian says, "Ooh, cool figure, Clyde." And those were the original paintings, Eric. I still have Miracle Man 3 from back then.
Oh,
yeah.
so his original ones. I was assuming they were second prints. Well, it was the 80s. I don't remember too much other than getting them.
Okay, I don't mean to sound like a know-it-all, but I am. The early Miracle Man issues were reprints from the Warrior magazine. But when Chuck Beckham took over as artist, then those were original to the American market. Because Alan Moore, imagine this, got into a fight with the editor of Warrior. I know, I wait till you're sitting down, guys. But and then he just wrote for the American market after that. So, and they had to change everything from in the first like 5 or 6 issues from Marvel Man to Miracle Man. So, anyway, that's more than you needed to know about it. Anyway, thank you guys. Another splendid show, I think, and I had fun, which is what I'm really after. It's all about me. Anyway, yes, kudos all around, guys, and a special thanks to Joe D. McPhee here for pitching hitting for Brian Hawkins, or not Brian Hawkins, Brian Rodman. Did I get Brian Hawkins?
You keep doing that all the time.
I know. What? How many times do I can?
Being named Brian, you should be able to get your Brian straight.
I even call myself Rodman. I'm trying to sound cooler than I am. But how many times have I messed up Jody McPhee and Joe Dog?
Joe Dog, yeah, all the time.
Yeah. And Cindy Cap says, and now we know, and knowing is half the battle. The rest of the battle is red and blue lasers. And thanks for hosting Adventure. Thank you for being here, Cindy. CKOEPP.com and sign up for that amazing newsletter and check out her Animal Eye on Kickstarter, #1 comic, her very first comic. It's doing well. Please support it. We got to get to 4,000 so she can do foreign, she can get relettered for foreign markets, which I think is really cool. So speaking of really cool, I think it'd be cool if we all signed off here. And let's start with Joe D. McPhee. Joe, tell everybody how the world can keep up with you.
You can keep up with me. You can hit me up on Facebook. I do have an account on Instagram. If you are looking for more content from me, make certain that you come out on Saturday evenings at 9 o'clock and watch From the Desk of the Small Press Publisher, either on YouTube, soon to be Twitch, as well as Facebook here. And in between that, I will be doing my own comic books. I still got this sketch cover to color. I just have to figure out the actual color palettes or the Prismacolor markers that I need to use here. But outside of that, that's where I'm going to be.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Joe. It's such a pleasure having you here, man.
Hopefully it's not going to be another 15 issues before I come back.
We may have to work on something, you and me.
Yeah.
So anyway, Eric Hawkins, how can the world keep up with your amazing exploits?
Obviously, you follow me on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere like that. Go out to Indiegogo, search Zombie for World of Oz. If you missed out on issues 1, 2, or 3, my demand store is still open. I'll be shipping those in August. But I don't think Brian Rodman's feeling any better, guys. So I posted his link to his Kickstarter back in the chat. So make him feel better. Go back that book, and he'll magically feel better.
Yes, he will. I'm sure he'll.
You have to build a stronger suit because that AI suit is not good enough.
Yeah. The seams aren't tight enough that those little mutant allergens are getting in there.
Well, dare I say he'll breathe easier if we open
There you go. You'll breathe easier.
There we go. And there is that Kickstarter link. Please, folks, please click on that and make the boy smile again as he is clutching his nebulizer between his gritted teeth. Anyway. There you go. Wonderful. It was like the real thing. Not the real thing, but an uncanny simulation. Thank you, Eric Hawkins. Now, Clyde Hall. How can these wonderful people follow you everywhere?
They can follow me on Facebook under Clyde Hall or under Radiating Positive Vibes with Clyde Hall. That's my site on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at CJ Hall 1984. And right now we have Pulp Reality #2 out. That has the second of my B-Man stories, a character that I created for New Pulp. You can find that on Amazon, or you can go to www.stormgatepress.com. You can find that, along with a lot of the things from Charles F. Milhouse and other creators that are part of the Stormgate family, including Captain Hawkins.
Hawkland.
Hawkins,
He did
sorry.
it. He did it. Yes.
I did it too.
Captain Hawkins.
Is he a Brian Hawkins?
That's who he really meant. And anyway, I'll say my part a real. Actually, you know what we'll do here is thank you guys again. Stick around again for the end of the show. And Ted Davies Artistry says, "Great show, you guys rock." Brian Rodman, you are missed, but Joe, you rock. Hawkins, Clyde, and BKM. You all rock too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ted Davies Artistry. Check out the Drink of the Davies tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And I'm hearing my own voice in my head. Oh, holy heck. Anyway, I'm going to mute you guys, take over the screen, and then we'll have the after show, the four of us. So please hold on tight. Make sure I don't mute myself. Anyway, thank you one and all. And again, we're going to put this up here. Please contribute to the Nebulizer. It's a great looking comic book by Brian Rodman. The star, one of the stars of this show. Brian, please get well fast. You are missed, but thank goodness for Joe D. McPhee for turning in such a great job tonight, and on short notice too. People, we want to make that very clear. But we also want to thank the Rising Tide Broadcast Network for being amazing. Check this out. Don't forget, Amy Hale is on right now with her husband, John, and Santiago Cirillo. He's an actor. He is an activist, and he's fantastic. He's a friend of mine, and he's loud. You'll love him. And he's high energy. It'll be terrific. Also, check out Stupid O'Clock. Actually, starting right now. Stupid O'Clock is an after convention hours discussion show that you will love. Trust me, you will. Good stuff. And check it out and join in the conversation there. Also, want to thank our Patreon subscribers. Patreon is a monthly subscription service where for a modest fee, you can directly support your favorite creators. And many of these people you see on the screen have their own Patreon accounts. So please check us all out and see go to www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris and find out all the cool stuff I will give to you in return for your support. Also want to thank Plasma Fire Graphics when the look of your book matters to you because it matters to your readers. That's what turns them into customers. Check out what Plasma Fire Graphics can do at plasmafiregraphics.com. Also check out their Facebook page, and it's all very affordable. Trust me, Plasma Fire Graphics when the look of your book matters to you. Also, they did this book cover here. Jeffrey Hayes did a super job on this. The fourth in the Snow Short series, standalone novels based on the creations of Bobby Nash, BobbyNash.com. And mine is called Snow Ambition. It's 99 cents, available now on Amazon. It's fast-paced, quick read crime thriller. And I think that's everything. We will be back tomorrow morning on the new Nevermind the Furthermore. And we hope you join us then. And we hope you join us next week for another bout here with let me get to the right place there. There we go. With Comic Book Spectrum. Glad you all enjoyed the show, and a super thanks to Joe D. McPhee for stepping in at the last second here. And thank you all for your great comments. And please, if you're watching us on Facebook, please like this video and share it with your friends. Also, like the page you're watching on. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comments below. We'll try to respond to them. And also, please subscribe to this channel. We would appreciate that. And so, as always, folks, remember, thank you for being here. And stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for watching Comic Book Spectrum.
From author Brian K. Morris comes a classic hero in a high-flying, fast-paced, and action-packed steampunk adventure. The original Skyman battles the Master of Steam with an introduction by comics icon and historian Roy Thomas. A Rising Tide, an Ace Comics publication. Available now in print or digital format on Amazon.com.
Thank you for watching Comic Book Spectrum. a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Please join us next week for another look at comics, past, present, and future. If you enjoyed this, please give the show a like and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. To receive our free monthly newsletter, go to www.risingtide.pub and be sure to give the Rising Tide Broadcast Network page on Facebook a like in order to receive news about upcoming shows including Clever Title Pending, Stupid O'Clock, Clever as Hail, Comics Chaos and Sass, Tidbits and Scribbles, the Historical Fencing Guild, and never mind the Furthermore. See you next week.
Hi, I am Joe D. McPhee. I am the host of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, and I want to cordially invite you to watch our show Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. On our show, we will have different guests as well as talk about the comic book industry and pop culture. And every so often, I might actually do a drawing session or a 3D rendering session every here and there. So once again, I want to invite you to watch From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher right here on the broadcast channel that you're looking at, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Hope to see you there, and make certain that you catch From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks.